You are tired?
Well, I'm just young.
You look like a crazy Cuban.
I am a crazy Cuban.
You are a crazy Cuban.
And we're back. I'm Fly Navarro with Fly Zone Fishing. This is Sam Peters with Release Marine. We want to talk a little bit about your company. Release Marine Chairs. We've had the great opportunity to walk around your shop all day long. But it's more than just a shop. You guys have been around the fishing industry. I've been in the fishing industry for 25 years. And you guys have been in the industry the entire time I've been here. So tell us a little bit about how you guys got started and how you've blossomed this company into more than just fighting chairs.
Basically, we started, believe it or not, as a boat company in the early 70s. My dad had a desire to go fishing in Savannah. And back then, if you didn't have a big Rivovich or something like that went about 14 knots, you couldn't really go in the ocean. And he sort of had a dream and a vision that he wanted to build a boat that could go 70 miles in the ocean but not go 12 knots. So he got with Elton Carey down at Carey Marine and got to know Don Arno with Cigarette Racing Team, and he basically cut off the 36-foot ocean racing hull and made it 26 foot, added a foot and a half of gunnel to it, and off we went in the early 70s out of Savannah, 70 miles out into the Gulf Stream.
Back in those days, 70 miles out was a long way to go.
You didn't go offshore unless you knew of another boat going. There was no, you had a compass, a radio direction finder, a SciTech old paper recorder, and you ran by a stopwatch. You know, you run 3 hours and hope you hit the edge, and if you didn't, you kept going.
I know back home in South Florida, going to Bimini, which was 52
big
miles,
ordeal.
Was a big ordeal,
Yeah.
and we were going somewhere.
Yeah.
So now, you know, up here in Savannah, where you're going 70 miles just out in the middle of the ocean, that is a big ordeal.
We've come in as far north as Hilton Head and missed it as far as Brunswick South, so that was the way it was in those days.
Well, at least you have somewhere to come back to, and it's a lot of land.
Right.
So where did it make the turn from building boats into building chairs?
Well, we started, you know, we built about 14 boats, and where we sort of ran into a little bit of a problem was we couldn't find a fighting chair that fit in a 8x8 cockpit. So my dad was a very brilliant designer and had really good drawing capabilities. A lot of his drawings are still here on the walls back from the 70s, and we decided to build a chair. And so we started building those in 1978, built the first one here. And first one was made out of Lexan. It was a crazy looking thing. But during that time, Albemarle Boats was born. Let's see, you had Phalo and those guys. Carl Herndon down at Blackfin was coming on. Grady White was starting to get offshore. So we realized there was a sort of a market there for a little small chair. And all we did was make a really, really small, little tiny chair for smaller boats. And so that's really where it was all born.
And that's where it was born.
Yep.
And then slowly but surely, with the advent of heavier tackle and a lot of new things in our industries, you guys have just blossomed throughout.
Mm-hmm. You know, my dad was a really neat guy, and I bought this company from him, you know, years ago in the early 90s. And I think the philosophy that stuck true was when we signed the deal, he looked at me and he said, "Son, I want you to promise me one thing." He said, "I want you to treat everybody like you want to be treated, build the best products you can build, price it fairly, and you will do well." And that's pretty much stuck with us, you know, every day here.
There's one thing that you just said that I really want to touch on is your father. You bought the business from your father, which was a family business, but I've spent all day long here in all different aspects of your company, and everybody talks about that same family mentality.
Yeah.
Every single person, between Mr. Chen, Glenn, all these guys have been here for a really long time, and they treat it as it's their own business.
And you know, we really promote each and every employee. We have birthday parties for them every month. We shut the company down. We all sit down and eat all together. We get on a bus for Christmas and ride around town and have a good time, and went bowling and got on the trampoline jumping thing. And we do a lot of stuff to promote that interrelation. But, you know, all in all, I guess it just comes down to we treat everybody with a lot of respect. and we look out for our employees and our customers. And, you know, if I have to put one word on what really I think makes us go the most, I would have to say passion. And you saw a lot of it today. You know, Mr. Chang is passionate about putting the arms on the seat. The spray guy that you talked about, he loves spraying paint, you know. Our epoxy guys, they like to put the epoxy on. Our salespeople, they like to sell chairs, and we love that most. And, you know, we hear that from a lot of people. We get letter after letter after letter after letter about people that say it's just such a pleasure to deal with your company. I don't care whether it's picking up the phone or meeting you guys at the boat show, or if I do have a problem, you guys are like on it, you know, Johnny on the spot. And it just comes from passion. I mean, that's the core thing that we all do here. We're very passionate about it.
If you're passionate with what you do, it never seems like work.
Yeah.
It never seems like work.
Well, being in the fishing industry, you know, my whole life now, you know, here I sit at 55 looking back, and I'm almost like, how does this happen? You know, and having all these people here, you know, I'm amazed every day at our employees and what we've done. I mean, I'm literally like, thank you, God, how did this happen to me? And I mean that from the bottom of my heart.
No, it definitely shows. Now, what started with a fighting chair company, now you guys have rocket launchers, you guys have tables, you guys have so many different products. When did that happen for you? When did you finally start saying, listen, we're doing this kind of finished work, we can keep that same level and take it across to different products?
The table company, people were just so happy with what we had done with the fighting chairs. They literally said, hey, can you do me a favor? Can you build me a table? And we built one table one day and shipped it to a client. And the next thing you know, a couple of clients, you know, want this and want that. So it literally just developed on its own.
And taking a word from you, you kind of backed into it.
We really did back into the table portion of the business. Now, what I found amazing was we would get a boat company that would call us up and say, hey, we've heard about your company. You know, we'd like to look at buying a table from you. And we'd build them a table and ship it to them. And they would call us on the phone and go, we've been through 4 vendors, and what you sent us day one out of the box is better price and better quality than anything we've got. And the next thing you know, POs are spitting out of the machine. And it literally was 0 advertising. Marine Tables has never run an ad in a single book in its life, and all of it's been word of mouth. Literally every piece of it. All of that you saw today is coming from somebody telling somebody else about that company.
That is awesome.
It's unreal. Or meeting a guy, have a customer come to us and say, I've got a new Hinckley being built, or whatever that boat may be, and we build a couple tables for them, ship them up there, and the next thing you know, the head buyer from Hinckley's calling us on the phone asking us to build tables for them. And it happens every day.
And that's pretty neat. And I know your chairs and your products go all over the world, because I know you and I have talked about a trip that I'm getting ready to make out to Japan. And you say that your products are already over in Japan on the boats over there.
I got a guy over there, Sam Tech. He's been real good with us, and another overseas Marine is doing real well with us, and got products in showrooms over there, and got a bunch of Japanese clients. I love those guys. They come to the boat show, man, and they don't really speak English, but they look at our product and they spend a lot of time looking at the engineering, and they're really easy to sell because they know what they're looking at.
They know what they want.
They know what they want, and they know what quality looks like.
That's, again, it's easy when somebody knows what they want. It's so much easier than trying to sell somebody a product you're not. You're just saying, this is what we have. Tell us what you want.
Right.
And it kind of sells itself.
Yeah, and I think most of what we've done at Release Marine was a direct result of feedback from people telling us what it needed to look like. I mean, these ideas, they're not really my ideas. They've come from Stuart Campbell and boat builders in North Carolina, or suggestions from a customer. Hey, would you do this for me? And we're like, sure. And we try it, and then it gets incorporated into our whole product line. So most of it actually has been customer driven. We're doing a project right now for an individual, and that project's going to require a tremendous amount of engineering. And it's going to push the envelope of what we do. But out of that will become a lot of things that we'll grow from. but customer driven.
Well, your customers are the ones that are using your product in and day out,
Yeah.
and they're the ones that are pushing the envelope, which in turn makes you have to think outside of the box. And that's how development is done and new products come out.
Yeah, and we don't have an ego. If a customer comes to us and says he wants something, we're like, yes, sir, we'll get right on that. There are limitations of what we can and can't do based on, you know, how it's built, but we'll give them any option they've got to do pretty much anything they want. And we're happy to do it, really are.
That's what being in business is all about.
Absolutely.
So, Sammy, I can't thank you enough for the time you've given me to
Ditto.
go through all your shop and sharing it with everybody in the world. So I want to say thank you.
Appreciate it very much.
Appreciate it. Guys, again, thanks for joining us at Release Marine, that is in the Fly Zone.